Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Gladieux, and I am the author of Communicate with Courage, Taking Risks to Overcome the Four Hidden Challenges. And I'm excited to be here today because so much of succeeding in life is about succeeding or at least giving it our best shot as communicators. And if I can inspire you just to work a little bit harder at seeing yourself and how others see you and believing in yourself to make communication changes happen, I'll be over the moon. I'm happy Phil called.
And what's the best or the worst advice you ever got, Michelle?
The best advice I ever got, at least today, what I've been thinking about is probably my mom trying to impart to me that a lot of times we worry about ourselves and what people think of us, especially with societal pressures and peer pressure, etc. But the truth is, most of those folks, and I found this to be true through adult life as well, they have their own crosses to bear and their own insecurities and their own plans, and they might not be paying as much attention to us to judge us as we think. Certainly it happens. But I have found more courage in just um, checking with myself at night about how I think I did than spending too much time worrying about what others say about me.
I love that. What did mom share that with you?
Oh, I'm sure I was worried about how my hair looked is the first thing that comes to mind. Big fights about clothes. I want new clothes. You don't need any new clothes. So
Wow.
she was right. But I needed new clothes so people might like me.
Mm, that's
Hmm.
interesting. When did you finally really own that advice? Because that's such powerful advice.
I repeat it to myself frequently when I need to be courageous. So I don't know that I have fully owned it, but I can work with it now
Mm.
a little bit better.
Oh, wow. So courageous, right? That's kind of what your book's about. So how do you define courageous, Michelle?
Well, let's look at you and I. You tell me if this is true about what I have read into your bio and about you. So I have done some
Okay.
inferring and I have looked at your bio. But I think you and I might share that we weren't in common, that we weren't the most popular kids in school.
True.
Wow, that's hard. And it could even be when it's a small group that you want to be a part of, not necessarily that we wanted to be king of the prom and queen of the prom.
Yeah. True.
So courage is that you and I lived through that, and we decided to choose careers where we put ourselves on stage in front
Yeah.
of people to be judged, because that, darn well that's what's happening, because we believe in our message. So we've decided kind of the heck with that. They're not going to stop me. That's the way I want to live. That's just an example of the way I think you and I have done it, but it's every day.
But how's that courageous? I can't think of another way to live, though.
You can't.
No, I
There's
can't. I can't imagine not being me. Now that being said, 10 years ago I can, right? 15 years ago I can. 20 years ago I can for sure. But right now at this point in my life, I can't imagine not being me. I think maybe 20 years ago I was courageous. I think anymore if I was trying to fit in, I think that would be more courageous, and maybe not.
I hope that you keep in mind, I believe everything you've said, and I hope you keep in mind that for most humans, I would say, most
Yeah.
humans, and I've worked with several thousand pretty deeply one on one, that's a rare thing, this confidence. And so that's what's worth developing. Courageous risk is when you're thinking about pros and cons and realizing the cons can very much come to pass, but we can't sleep right. We can't live with ourselves. There's something burning in us, something a little bit more. We got to find that little voice and then follow that path. Yes, get educated about communicating strategically, or it becomes a disaster, right? So that's one of the chapters of the book is risks not to take. I don't want people to think it's a short paperback, but I don't want people to think it's like in every situation be the brave lion. No, sometimes the bravery comes from like not saying something that you have teed up at someone else's expense, or in being patient while someone finds their words. That's one that I'm working on. I wonder why I get so freaked out when it takes somebody a longer time to explain something than I think it should. What's up with that? That's because I have a bias of speaking quickly, a bias, I guess, of comfort with it. So anyway, that's kind of rambly, but I guess I'm trying to say that I just notice in every interaction and every day, couple thousand decisions a day, that there's a lot of them about communication, and many people are just sort of flying low and satisficing or doing what's satisfactory to get by. And there's a whole nother range that you can fly within that really brings beautiful gifts. And I think, honestly, I think folks need a manual. And it was never there for me as a coach to buy, to give to someone. So I wrote it.
I love that. I think you did. What do you mean you hope? Come on now. Have the courage to say, damn it, this is the manual. Because this is the manual.
It's the very best I could do. I hope it becomes a manual.
Oh, well, it's beautiful and wonderful. And congratulations, by the way.
Oh, hey, thank you.
It's
and
courageous.
congratulations on all of your successes. I'm liking the pod. I'm listening to it a lot these days, so I can feel like I knew you a little bit before we spoke. You do bring a lot of energy and insightful questions, and I think you make the time fly.
Thank you. Thank you. So, well, we have time to prove that to be true, and that is always my goal, is for you to have fun, for me to have fun, and hopefully whoever's listening and watching will have fun too, because that, for me, is courageous, because I know not everybody likes fun, and I know there's going to be people that won't like me. No, truly, right? Some people want to be miserable. Yep, some people want to be miserable. Some people watch us to watch us fail. And some people, frankly, don't watch us at all. To your point of your mom, a lot of people don't watch us at all.
Yeah.
You know?
About the people watch us to hope that we fail. I hope that I don't think about that the rest of this interview or in my next interview. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I have a keychain that says haters gonna hate.
Yeah. I used to have a shirt that said Haterade on it. Like, you want some?
Haterade.
Yeah.
But you accept that not everyone will like you, that you won't blend with everyone that you meet. It still hurts, though, wouldn't you say? Just the fact that you bring it up
sure
sort of shows me that hurts you.
Definitely. Absolutely. There are still days where I realize it would be easier to just be satisfactory. I realize it would be easier to blend in. You know, I want to say, is it in Finland or Norway or Sweden? Don't remember, tall poppy syndrome, right? The person who stands tallest gets cut off because they don't blend in. If you will, you know, the higher nail, right, gets hammered first. There's lots of words about that. And I know for me, you know, through communication and through, because I've studied it, right? And I certainly enjoyed your book, by the way. So again, I find for me, I just have to not worry about the haters. The haters are and accept that.
This goes to show how our formative years shape us as communicators. You know, I think this goes back to the tough experiences of being a kid and being on the outside. I don't have kids, but I have been talking to, now my friends' kids are in their teens mostly. And it's tough out there for the kids. It's tough out there for young adults. I know I'm not a parent, but I think it could be beneficial if parents chose goals about communication and intention around communication, and sometimes talked about it when their kids were in range, maybe while trapped in the car or something. I understand it's hard to get teenagers to hang out and talk, but I've been spending time with quite a few lately, and it's theater season, and so we have performances happening. I'm here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, you know, throughout the Midwest. It's about spring break time, April. So I've been seeing a lot of performances and just kind of studying those dynamics from sitting in the chair and watching the kids interact. And usually I study organizational behavior, so I'm looking at adults. But the more I work with adults, the more I think it's important that we think back to what was modeled for us, and then also what we lived through and what we were blessed with, and think about the communicator we want to be today. All of it's good. I mean, all of it can be used for good, and that's definitely what you've done, like you're saying, Phil. And it still hurts our feelings when we get a negative review, or at least mine, or unincluded in some way.
Sure.
There's a chapter about that very important topic in these days, in the 2023 era, about who gets included and who doesn't and how that happens. And I've been studying that because one of the training topics we offer is leveraging diversity and what inclusion means and where is it appropriate to discriminate. It is appropriate if I have a job opening at my company, I'm going to legally discriminate among candidates. I can understandably discriminate among who I send the email to. But it also gets people kind of hopefully thinking about learning from others' experiences. So there's some thoughts about our formative years. My executive coaching clients are sometimes struggling with the role models they had or did not have. Yeah. So, and I know our parents and grandparents and our elders always do the best. I like to remember they've done the best they can with what they had. And then ask myself if I really want to open my mouth and sound exactly like my parent would.
That's so good. Well, there's not been a manual before now for that.
I think that's a manual, Phil.
I think that, so. All right. So my favorite superhero is the Greatest American Hero. Do you know the story? Do you know the Greatest American Hero?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
No, that's okay. No. So I promise, though, this will make sense. So here's the thing. Ralph gets a super suit, but doesn't get a manual with it. And it doesn't always work right. So he doesn't know how to be a superhero, but he does the best he can. Right. And this is a recent development for me. I want to be really clear here. This is a recent development for me. Your point about our parents doing the best they could, they didn't have a manual. They often did not have a role model who modeled this behavior. I know that my dad, God love him, and I love my dad too. My dad is 76 years old. My dad's dad was in World War II and he was the stereotypical stoic man until he wasn't, until he would explode, right? My dad, and I would bet, and I don't know, my dad, I've never talked to my dad about this, and I probably will, now that I'm opening it up about that, but I would bet my grandfather never told my dad he loved him.
Yeah.
Like with those exact words, right?
Sure.
So
that's how much our species in the West here, we can try to make some generalizations, I guess, in the US at least. Things are evolving, changing. I'm sure some people feel it's going backwards and some people are feeling it's going forwards. And some people maybe aren't noticing, but emotional intelligence and emotional participation seems to be a way of growth for our species. You mentioned that, and this was the Great American Superhero, wasn't it? I was taking a note.
Greatest American Hero.
Oh, sorry, the Greatest American Hero, and he was given the cape but no manual.
Yeah, he got a whole suit. Yep.
The suit. I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah, and it's on Amazon. You can watch all 43 episodes, or on YouTube, all 43 episodes for free.
Okay. I will report back and try that. Thank you. I need to sometimes, more often, I need to maybe leave the office and look away from the work and remember how to have fun and play and be silly. That takes courage. The World War II granddad, my dad and all his brothers fought in World War II in the four, I think it was 5 brothers in all 4, what would you call that? Military forces, all 4 of the armed forces. And so he had me later in life. People would say nice things like, your grandfather, and he would be like, father, but the greatest generation, stoic. Yes. And Dad Glad he gave me some great advice. And he actually made it into the book. Each short chapter starts with a quote. And I found out a little late that I had quoted a Bob Marley lyric to start that chapter. And I found out we didn't, I thought they were getting permission. They thought we were getting permission, that kind of thing. So we had to pull it out real quick. And I needed something to go there. And I wanted something short. And I thought, okay, from the heart, from the gut, important advice. What did I get? And that'd be my dad saying, when I left the house, he'd say, keep your nose clean, Michelle. Keep your nose clean. Keep your nose clean. Love you, Dad. Bye. Keep your nose clean. Was the energy I got back. And so I taught myself, I thought, I'm going to translate. That means I love you. Be careful. And I wish I could stand up and give you a hug. I could initiate the hug, but I'm too tough. And being tough is so needed in so many professions. Got to keep some heart. Got to keep some heart in the communication if you want to experience all the joys that communication can bring. Yeah. We've worked with a lot of police officers in the last few years, teaching stress management techniques and bias prevention, a combo we suggested because they're related with anyone. And the case studies that these guys were answering about communication were not your everyday, gosh, the person in the cubicle next to me is too loud on the phone. What do I do? These case studies were, you arrive on scene and see that the injured party is your best friend. What's your next move? Just very hard things for them to process. Meanwhile, while I'm teaching stress management strategies, I'm asking them to figure out how they feel and share how they speak, how they feel to someone, and to manage both expressing emotions to be a good leader and teammate, but also so that they can not let them rot within, you know? It's a very interesting dynamic because it's tough to talk to somebody who believes that toughness is the right way. They don't sometimes see that expressing emotion shows tremendous courage and can set you free. So, I mean, I'm no mental health counselor. I studied organizational psychology, did my master's at Purdue in West Lafayette at Purdue University. I see more of a blending of these ideas of courage being be tough and face the challenge. Yes, that's part of it. Maybe another part of courage is be brave enough to find a way to express how you feel and ask how others feel. Trust builds.
How?
It's a good conversation.
How
We
do
have
we do
aspirations for the world, don't we, Phil?
that? We do.
We do.
Right? So how do we do that though? Can you, I know it's, we don't have 6 hours here, but like simply, right? How do we help people? How do we encourage people to even think about that?
We keep doing what we do. We keep trying. You and I are trying to expand our audience. We try to refine our message, make sure it's helpful. It doesn't waste people's time because no one has time for that. And then produce and expand the message so more can look in at it, which we deserve to do. We can preach this stuff, and I think we deserve to do that as long as we are continually admitting our own weaker points and willing to look at them. But I don't think you can teach well without doing that. So there you go. I mean, I just try to be the best communicator you can be and check with people about how it's coming across. Find some folks in your in-group, as I call it, and other researchers call it. In-group is people who get your eye contact, your praise, constructive criticism, information sharing. You let them know you hear something interesting. They're the ones you let know, not these other people in your family or on your work team, because they're not your in-group. Out-group, we all have an out-group. Out-group gets less praise, constructive criticism, information sharing, eye contact, feedback, that kind of stuff. So it's easier to talk to your in-group. Go to somebody from your in-group and ask them how you come across at this day and age, at the age you are, as a communicator. What's something I'm doing well? What's something that you sometimes think I could do differently or that's just frustrating to you? Please be real with me. This is homework I have from a book I'm reading. It's an exercise in a book. So, hey, let's do it. Let's do this feedback challenge. And some family and friends and coworkers will get back to you and some won't. Don't push it. Just take the data you get and look for a little bit of truth. The only other really thing to remember about that, I guess, action item is stick to the script. After somebody tells you what they like or don't like about how you communicate, tell them, thank you, I'll think about this. And that's it. You really don't get to debate. Or if you do, you're not doing the exercise from my book. I'm not trying to be sassy. I know it's hard not to debate someone when they might be, you think, clearly factually wrong. Just say, thank you, I'll think about this and mean it, and then change the subject or get out of there. Collect the data and look for trends. The feedback challenge. So each exercise has a little, I dare you. I double dog dare you. It won't take long, but could change your life. Yeah, right? This is a manual. I'm going to be cracking up about this later.
Yeah.
You're a sales expert. I am not a sales expert. I go along. I have team members that help, but I've never studied sales.
So
listen to you, right?
Sure. Yeah, listen to me. So for sure. But truthfully though, it's interesting because the book, right, as we kind of flip through here, one of the things that I love the most is at the end of every chapter, you have a pro move and you have an exercise. That's super powerful, right?
Good.
That's super powerful because that gives us an opportunity to actually put into practice. One of the things that I really would love if more authors did is if they would tell us how to actually use what I just learned. And that's one of the things that you do very well. So
Good.
why did you do that?
Oh, because I taught college for 18 years and taught ballet when I was a teenager. And I've always been a teacher, played teacher games. So I hear when I was in kindergarten. You'd be my friend Phil, and I'd be like, come on, it's snack time. You're going to sit down, and I'm going to be the teacher. You're going to be the student. And you'd be like, what? I don't want to play teacher with you. I wanted to play teacher. So I want people to try it. So snack size, little things you can do, and always blame it back on the book. Throw me right under the bus, please.
Not the book though. Keep the book in your backpack.
Yeah,
it's a manual.
Throw me.
Right?
Yeah, just I'm daring you. I dare you to try some of these exercises.
That's fun.
Hey, I'm going to offer. Can I offer one or two more from the book?
Yeah, come on, let's go.
Let's see a couple of my favorites. Jot down what you're telling yourself when communication is important and you're driving to the meeting or you're driving to holiday dinner. Woo, fraught with emotion very often, or you really think now you're thinking about how you communicate. Check out what you're saying to yourself. You are whispering in your own ear, and we talk more to ourselves than anyone else in life. So just try to separate you from yourself and see what you say to you. And then just if it's mean, check the validity of it. And that's very normal for a lot of our coaching clients. And they'll come to the meeting, we have homework each month, and people usually sign up for 3 or 4 months of coaching. Each month, everybody's doing 5 or 6 brave things related to communication. And, one woman recently came back to second session and said, okay, so for the self-taught goal, I wrote down some of the stones that I throw at myself. And I go, okay, just between you and I, what are they? And her first, obviously we're not going to use her name. Her first was, I say that I'm a bad mom. I tell myself that a lot. I was like, well, I'm not a mom, but are they fed? Are they loved? Do they get some social interaction? Just naming some things. She's like, of course. I said, why are you a bad mom? She said, because I've been on video several evenings this week, and they, we miss each other, and I want to hang out with them at night before they go to bed, and I haven't been able to. I said, oh, okay, so you're not a bad mom. Can you reword that? And she's like, I'm a busy mom who wants to be on video less in the evening. Better. So there's the chapter 1 exercise is check the validity of what you say to yourself. Be aware, or you might say beware. And also you might be telling yourself you're just the best best ever. And they broke the mold after you because you're so experienced or such a pro or so smooth or so giving so much or doing so well. And you might want to check the validity of that. I wonder what the people around you would say that you could work on. Because again, as we're talking about confidence, you've got that confidence. That's okay. Use your confidence to find out how you could be better. And now you're living, that's cool. That's the life. That's a life that's worth emulating. You'll be a role model to others if you try that. So there's one, and I guess one more.
Let me pause there. Hold on. Sure. No, let's pause there. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go dig a little more because I do want to get you to your next one, but let's talk about that. Right, the checking for validity. Yes, I think is a big deal. Right, I think that's a big deal, and I think a lot of people don't do that. They don't check inside for personal validity. They don't check outside, and they're in group for that validity. I think instead they just say words, and then those words sit on us and make us heavy, and we just internalize them without ever checking their validity, and then we play it over and over and over like an old-time cassette recorder, right? And it just keeps playing on repeat. So how do we pause ourselves there, Michelle, to actually do that validity check? How do we, is there a reminder, some exercise or something that we can do so that we can do better at checking for validity?
Yeah, you're just going to try to catch yourself thinking, catch yourself talking to yourself, and rise one level above, so to speak, in your consciousness, and then jot it down if you can catch it. It's a glimpse. I just told myself, hey, you did the best you could. Lighten up. I just told myself something. I think I'll write it down. And then you see the other voices. And some of those voices may have told you that you weren't going to amount to anything in this life and other terrible things to say to a human being with potential. Then we look at those in the light I need to write it down. I can't go from here to here. I have to go from here to my paper that's in my wallet, for example, in my purse. But most ladies have purses, guys have wallets, folks are carrying bags. And then take private time and look at it under the light and ask yourself, is this true? And if I think it's true, can I prove that it is? Or is there anything that disproves that negative statement about myself? Because a validity check is, right? Validity means we are testing to see that what we're measuring actually purports what we're purporting to measure is actually being measured. Or are we getting some weird confounding variables in there? It's tough. You need some of your definition of success to come from inside yourself, and the rest of the world, too bad, I don't care. But you do need some of your definition of self and knowing about your own success and the way you're seen in the world. We need to ask others about that and let some criticism in. So this is why it's kind of a short book, because I think if we were trying to write a recipe, it wouldn't be right for it wouldn't be right for almost everyone. So we and I had a lot of help from coworkers and editors. My poor, the people I respect very much their opinion because they can write and they are thinkers and they love communication. It's been through a lot of edits before it ever got to the actual book publisher. So we tried to make it short and yet stuff you'll think about while driving or showering or before you fall asleep, or maybe if you're lucky, right before the meeting starts, right before the presentation starts. For example, the folks who are interested in public speaking, there are several tips about that as well. Just getting through life to be a better communicator. Pro moves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, communication is the root of all that we all do.
Yes, I think
Ultimately, whether
so.
we communicate with ourselves, we communicate with others, super, super important. So I
Agree.
get that.
Why do you think? I want to. Okay, I want to give another exercise
Yeah.
and
Let's
not
go.
forget what I want to ask you. So I'm going to tell you the
Sure.
question now for me that
Okay,
I have to
go.
use. Why do you think some people don't think communication is worth study? Okay,
Okay.
here's another exercise. This one's in chapter 2. Just go about life as normal after you listen to this podcast, but add one ingredient, a new risk. Say or write one thing you would normally keep to yourself every day with a motive of being helpful, candid, kind, or real. Say one thing you would normally keep to yourself with the motive of being helpful, candid, kind, or real. Positive motive is what we're looking for. And since you have a positive motive, you could state your positive intention up front, so that increases that your communication will be received in a positive way as intended. For example, I see something my coworker could do better. It sure would help if they did it differently, and it's not my lane, maybe. So I might, instead of talking myself out of saying something because it's really bugging me, and we might have some process improvement here, just want to know why they do it that way. For example, as I approach them, whether in text or by phone or in person or by email, I could say, "Hey, Phil, definitely not trying to tell you how to do your job. Just wondering why ... And that way you receive that energy right from the beginning with my motive clearly stated. Or I ask you this just so I can learn. I might even say, I know this is not part of my job, but I've always wondered and I've never asked you. So there's the exercise after chapter 2. Get going. Either way you play it, courageously move toward what's something that would be more challenging for you to express. Woo! Can you feel it? Like that's living. That excitement that you feel like, we're in line for the roller coaster. I wouldn't be courageous enough to do that anymore. That seems dangerous to me.
The roller coaster?
Yeah, as I get older, and things hurt more, like why, I just exercised for an hour. Why do I hurt so much the next day? I don't think a roller coaster is for me anymore, but I remember the feeling of waiting in line going, oh, it's going to happen. You can create some excitement in your day.
Wow. Wow.
A thought.
That's interesting. That's so interesting, right? Because stating our intention up front means we have to accept that often we've been misinterpreted,
Oh,
or often we've come across wrong, that's pretty vulnerable.
true. Okay. Yes, that we've come across. Yeah.
Right? Because if I say, hey, my intention is, otherwise I'm just assuming, hey, and then this really gets back to your question though. I'm assuming then that if I don't say that, I'm assuming that I'm such a good communicator, you're just going to know. You're going to know my intention.
Right. And then I get mad. Let's move that down.
Yeah.
Kick that can down the road a little bit further. I personally get mad when someone doesn't pick up on my intention. This is embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to write that down. Where did my pen go? Because that's an important note. And I just normally cannot, my ego cannot let me see that. So I just learned that I get mad when people don't assume my intention is good.
Same.
Well,
same. That's good. I'm glad
really?
we're recording this. This is therapy. Yeah, this is good.
I get mad when people assume my intention is good. All right. So perhaps I could avoid my frustration by stating my intention.
There you go. There you go. Or you could hope to be understood more by stating your intention first, so people hear what you're saying instead of having to guess at your intention.
Now, aren't there folks that would mislead us about their intentions?
Absolutely, there are.
I'm not here to sell you anything. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And maybe not. I say that a lot, Phil, and then we do sell something. We end up selling like a training program for leaders or something, and I wasn't trying to sell anything. So then my intention, haha, I hope they get the joke, but I wasn't here to sell.
That's funny, right? No, so I do think many times though, podcasts, for instance, the goal is to get people interested in a book, interested in an idea, interested in a topic, interested in a person, right? Many times, to your point, people do end up buying something. They do end up going deeper, but this is often just their first exposure. My audience has never heard from you before. I've never heard from you before.
No, yeah, the book just came out in November of 22.
Right. So we've not, if it's truly though, no, if it's like trust, sometimes though, the message comes at the point where it's exactly needed, right? You can't control timing.
No.
Right. As a sales expert, the hardest thing for me is to tell my team that you can do everything correct and still not close the deal. And you can do everything wrong and still close the deal. Right. It's really hard because you can't control timing. That's what happens when people buy from you and you weren't trying to sell. So it's so interesting. The best you can do is make an invitation. Right? The best you can do is make an invitation.
That's beautiful. And then live with it if you're rejected. And I'm sure you have a ton of experts on here about that, but it does hurt.
Oh. Well, no, hold on. You don't live with rejection. You just don't take it personally. Because they're not rejecting you.
Yeah.
They're rejecting the idea. No, they're not.
Good for you.
They're not.
Good for you.
They're rejecting the idea.
I'm proud of you.
Right?
It's still hard for me.
No, I didn't say it was easy for me.
No, okay. I mean, I said hard, but I might mean impossible.
Well, therapy begins in 12 minutes. So anyway, with that, right?
So I had a question for you about why would people not be into studying communication? Who wouldn't be into this topic that we love?
Right. So why do some people think communication is not worth studying? Because it is so simple. Communication means I write, you read. I speak, you listen. They think that it's so simple, right? I would agree.
That it's so simple.
Right. No, hold on. No, I actually agree. Communication is simple. It's just not easy. It is simple. It's just not easy, right?
So I have to think about that one. I guess it is the concept of communicating. Right. I have message, I send message, you catch the ball. Done.
That's it. That's communication is complete.
But it's so complex and mysterious.
Absolutely correct. And so not easy.
Yes.
And so not easy. Because communication really means that the recipient got my message, understands it, processes it, accepts that message, even if they don't accept the idea behind the message, and then transmits back to me something. And there's so much there to unpack. But I believe, right, just like why do some people think anything is not worth studying? Often because, or they feel they should know. I should know how to communicate. I've been communicating my whole life. I should know how to I should be really good at this, right? I've been doing this for 100 years, right? I should just know this. I should be an expert. And so some of that's ego, right? We don't want to accept that we could do better because we're good enough right now.
Yeah. And we are good enough probably, but the joy, the gifts and the joy are just a little bit more reach.
Yep. A little bit more. Well, and I think the other reason is because it's work.
It's work. Mm-hmm.
It's work. But I think people avoid all work, right? Work that they don't love.
It's
No, work
joyful
that they
work.
don't love.
This person I'm thinking of likes to garden, and
That's not work to them then. No,
that's
no.
right. But I mean,
The
you're out
work
there
is
pulling
what
weeds
we
in the
don't
sun
love.
for 8 hours. It's work,
Uh-huh.
but they
Work to
believe,
you, work to me, not work to them.
yeah.
Right?
So
That's the difference. The work is whatever we don't enjoy. That's why do what you love, right? Do what you love, right? And you'll never work a day in your life.
mhm.
That is true.
Mm.
That is
Well,
true,
that's
right?
a
Because
pretty
if
true
you love it,
generalization. Yeah.
yep, yeah.
So,
So,
but you don't have to love communication to reap the benefits of communicating with a little more courage or just a little more effort.
that's right.
And
That's
so
right.
I'm not, and you're not saying that folks should devote their lives to the study of it as we have.
Negative.
I think it's because I think it is so important to our overall livelihood and enjoyment of life. I can't imagine not going deep on it. But I also like to just dip my toe into other areas of arts and sciences. And each time I do, I get something out. So we're not, everybody's invited. Everybody's invited
That's
to
right.
look at their communication, but sometimes it can be weird without a guide.
That's right. Without a
Okay.
manual. And now we have one,
You have
right?
helped me. Thank you. You've helped me kind of
Communicate with it.
understand a simple way to explain this book's place in the world.
Yeah.
Is that what a
You
sales
know,
expert can do? That was great.
there'll be an
You're,
invoice after this, and yeah.
no
So no,
invoices.
there will not. There
No.
will not. So no, there will not. Right. So
Okay.
let's kind of bring this home though, because I
Okay.
love how you bring the book home. Right. Be steadfast in your courage. You quote Voltaire here. Life is a shipwreck, but we must not forget to sing in the lifeboats. That's super beautiful, right? Being steadfast in our courage, singing in the lifeboats. So, Michelle, what does that mean to you?
That means that you might do your best. I might do my very best, pour my heart out, get it broken, go for the go for the job and make it to the fourth round of interviews and then get blown off by the company. But it's still worth trying, even though risks and negative consequences exist. What is the alternative? Just keep your head down and fly low, even when it's something you care about. I urge our listeners not to choose that path. And if they pick up the book, I think they'll hear my voice. My heart's in it. I would ask for your trust. I would ask for your trust. It's a life's work sort of thing, and I wanted to wait until I had a couple decades of coaching before writing, or at least writing that. We write workbooks and different things all the time, but I wouldn't have met you. So I was thinking at that next level of a little bit larger audience to reach, what are the most refined and important messages? And I'm so glad you picked up. I'm so glad you picked it up, Phil. I'm blessed to know you. I hope we get to talk again someday.
We will. We will. And hopefully, the listeners and viewers will as well. Folks, get a copy for yourself of Communicate with Courage. Get to know Michelle Gladieux, which rhymes with Daddy-O. That's GLADIEUX. GladieuxConsulting.com. Get to know Michelle. Learn from her. And Michelle, if folks want to connect with you, what's your favorite social platform? Where should they go?
I think the website makes things easy, except for the fact that it's a hard to spell French name. So gladieuxconsulting.com, that's the deal. GLADIEUX. And when they get there, they'll see dozens of coaches' corners, one page or less. What did the client ask? What did I try to teach back, or what did I go learn to teach? And a bunch of research summaries from our research team about cool stuff like building patience or dropping one worry per month. Stuff you can use, news you can use, a newsletter. So that would be a good start, and all my contact info is there.
Awesome. Awesome. So friends, go to gladieuxconsulting.com, get a copy of Communicate with Courage, and take a risk. Be a better communicator, even just a little bit better. You're good enough now, but you can be even better. Communication is hard. You don't have to be an expert to be a little bit better, to make a difference in the lives of others. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Michelle, you're a star. Thanks, friend.
Great to meet you.